You asked me about Qui-Gon Jinn, a man who was both an enigma and a teacher, a mentor, and above all, a friend. It is strange, you know, to think about him now. He's been gone for many years, but it feels as though his presence is still with me. In a way, it always will be. You see, Qui-Gon was never one to follow the crowd. He often went against the grain of the Jedi Council, and yet, it was precisely because of that that I learned so much. Most Jedi are taught to follow the rules, to adhere to the strict guidelines of our order. But Qui-Gon, he taught me that sometimes the true path of the Force cannot be found through rules and dogma. It must be felt. It must be trusted. I remember the first mission we had together. I was young, eager, perhaps a bit too eager at times. Qui-Gon was patient, though, always patient. He would often say, "The Force will show you what you need to see, but you must trust it. Trust that it will guide you, even when the way is unclear." I didn't fully understand those words back then, but with time, I came to realize their depth. We were on a planet, small, far from the bustling cities of Coruscant. There was a dispute between two factions, and we were sent to mediate. Most of the Jedi would have handled it swiftly by diplomacy or force. But Qui-Gon, he saw things differently. He spent hours meditating in the center of the conflict, waiting, listening, feeling the pulse of the people, the tension in the air. Sometimes, he told me, the answer is not in what we do, but in how we understand what is already happening. His ability to listen to the world around him was one of his greatest strengths. I've tried to learn from that. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in the noise of the galaxy, in the endless demands and duties. But Qui-Gon, he taught me to listen, really listen. As we traveled together, I saw that the Force wasn't a tool for us to control, but something to connect to, something far greater than any of us could understand. It was alive. And that's what Qui-Gon tried to show me, to feel the Force in everything, not just to use it as a weapon, but to understand it as a living presence. One lesson I will never forget. It was on the planet of Tatooine, of all places. We had come for a mission, but as usual, Qui-Gon had other ideas. He was drawn to something deep within the sands of this desolate world. We met a boy there, Anakin Skywalker. It was Qui-Gon who believed in him, even when no one else would. The Council was hesitant, their minds clouded by fear. But Qui-Gon, he saw something in the boy. He didn't just see a child, but someone who could bring balance to the Force. "I've seen this boy's potential," Qui-Gon said to me quietly, one night after we had spoken with the Council. "He will change the galaxy, Obi-Wan. Whether for good or ill, the future is his to shape." I didn't understand at the time. How could one boy so young be the key to such a grand fate? But Qui-Gon was sure, and he was right. In the years that followed, I would come to understand what he meant. You know, Qui-Gon was often misunderstood, even by those who called themselves his closest allies. His teachings were unconventional, and he had a tendency to trust his instincts over the rigid protocols of the Jedi Order. But it was in these instincts, in his faith in the Force, that he found his strength. I remember how he always refused to give in to fear. It was something the Council often overlooked. Fear of the unknown, fear of loss. These were things that clouded our vision, made us hesitant. But Qui-Gon saw things differently. He understood that fear could not be avoided, but it could be embraced. He believed that through understanding our fears, we could transcend them. Fear is not the enemy. he once told me, as we sat beneath the stars on another world. But it is a tool. If we let it, it will lead us to the dark side. But if we learn from it, we will become wiser, more attuned to the Force. It's strange, isn't it, to think of how much wisdom he had, even in the moments when he seemed to be taking the most dangerous paths. But perhaps that was the point, to trust the Force, even when we didn't understand it, to move forward, not with certainty, but with faith. I think of him often, especially now as I sit alone in exile. The galaxy has changed, and I have changed. But Qui-Gon's lessons remain with me. His faith in the Force, his belief in the potential of others, especially in those who seemed lost or forgotten. These are the things I carry with me, even now. And then, of course, there was his final lesson, the one I was too young to fully grasp at the time. He was always a man of action, a man who believed in doing what was right, no matter the cost. And that, in the end, is what led him to his fate. I remember the duel with Darth Maul. It was a moment of utter chaos, of violence, of destiny unfolding before our eyes. Qui-Gon, ever the one to seek balance, faced Maul with a calmness I could never quite match. He never once faltered, even in the face of death. His last words, "Obi-Wan, promise me you will train the boy," still echo in my mind. It's a promise I've kept. And perhaps that is the greatest legacy he left me. Not just in the battles we fought, not in the ways he defied the Jedi Council, but in the quiet, steadfast belief that the Force always finds a way. It's funny. You think you'll find wisdom in the big moments, in the grand gestures. But for me, the greatest lessons from Qui-Gon were always in the quiet moments. The moments when he would simply sit and watch the stars, or meditate with his eyes closed, as if he could hear something none of us could. The Force is not just a weapon, he once said to me. It is a living, breathing thing. We must learn to live with it, not control it. And in doing so, we will find our true purpose. His words stay with me. And maybe, just maybe, that is enough. For what else is there in the end? But to trust the Force and the journey it sets before us. I think back to the time we spent together, Qui-Gon and I. There were many things I didn't understand then, things that only became clear later as time and experience shaped my perspective. But one thing was always evident. Qui-Gon believed in people, even when the Jedi Council did not. Even when he was criticized or outvoted, he never wavered from what he thought was right. I remember a mission on a remote planet where we were tasked with overseeing a peacekeeping operation. The people were divided, torn by their own internal struggles. It wasn't a glamorous task. There were no battles to be fought, no grand gestures to be made. And yet Qui-Gon found a way to make peace, not through force, but through understanding. He spent days talking to both sides, listening, never rushing to judgment. It was in these moments, I believe, that he was truly most powerful. His ability to connect with others, to see the heart of a situation, was something I've always tried to carry with me. "Obi-Wan," he said once, "there is no war where peace cannot be found. But peace, true peace, can only come when we understand the pain of those around us. It is not about defeating your enemy, but understanding why they are your enemy in the first place." I did not understand that then. I was young, eager to fight and to win, to see the tangible results of our actions. But Qui-Gon, he saw the bigger picture. His approach was slow, patient. He taught me that sometimes the greatest victories are not the ones you can see, but the ones that happen in the hearts and minds of the people you touch. As I sit here now, thinking of Qui-Gon, I find that his wisdom still resonates in everything I do. Even now, I try to apply the lessons he taught me. When the galaxy was torn apart by war, when the Jedi Order was all but shattered, I thought back to his words. The Force is a living thing, Obi-Wan. It does not belong to us. We are its stewards, its protectors, but ultimately, it is the Force that guides us. Trust it, always. Those words have never felt more true. Through the years, through the battles, the betrayals, and the losses, I have come to rely on the Force in ways I never imagined. But Qui-Gon was not just about the Force. He was about the people we protect, the lives we touch. And that, I think, is the greatest gift he gave me. He taught me that we are not defined by our mistakes, by the battles we fight, but by how we choose to live, by the choices we make in the quiet moments. I often find myself thinking of his calm, the way he never seemed rushed. He took time to breathe, to reflect, to listen. And in that, he showed me the path I must walk now. His last lesson, the one that came with such a heavy cost, was the one I would carry with me forever. He gave his life in the belief that there was something greater than himself, that the future of the galaxy and the Jedi was worth any sacrifice. I am one with the Force, he said before he fell, and the Force is with me. His words still echo in my mind as I sit here on this desert planet, thinking about the man who taught me more than I ever thought possible. Perhaps in the end, that's all we can ask for, to leave behind something greater than ourselves, to leave a legacy of belief, of hope, of trust in the Force.